On this episode of China Uncensored, China is preparing to invade its neighbor, China. Wait. Hello and welcome to China Uncensored. I'm your host, Chris Chappell. Taiwan, the Chinese island province known for its bubble tea, stinky tofu, and not actually being a province of China. Unless you ask the Communist Party. After the Chinese Civil War in 1949, the Nationalist Party that had governed China fled to this little island across the Taiwan Strait, while the Communist Party got the big piece of cake. Eventually, Taiwan became a democracy, while China became kind of not. Technically, these two countries, this country, this region and this region, have been at war for 66 years. China considers Taiwan to be just a renegade province. Sure, Taiwan has its own government, currency, and foreign policy, but it never officially declared itself to be an independent country. Because if it did, well, the Chinese Communist Party has said it would take Taiwan by force. So for generations, Taiwan has been in this awkward political limbo, where the rest of the world treats it pretty much like a country, but isn't allowed to actually call it that. But unlike North Korea and South Korea, where relations are so tense that to cross the border, you need to go through this, with mainland China and Taiwan, things seem kind of normal. You can book a direct flight between Beijing and Taipei. Chinese businesses can set up in Taiwan and vice versa. And Taiwan is practically overrun with mainland Chinese tourists. You'd almost think Communist China and Democratic Taiwan were allies. Until you saw this in Chinese state-run media. That's China's People's Liberation Army doing a drill earlier this year at the Zhurehe Combat Training Base in China's Inner Mongolia region. They appear to be liberating a building that looks suspiciously like Taiwan's presidential office building. Not just the facade, even shape and size are almost identical. And it's more than just a show for the media. The facilities at the base provide real tactical training for a Taiwan invasion. There's an entire grid with structures that resemble those in central Taipei. For example, this one suspiciously resembles the Taipei First Girls High School, which could be used as a landing site for helicopters. Also, the place to get the latest gossip about the boys at the Taipei Municipal Jianguo High School. And then there's this airstrip, which resembles Taiwan Taitung Air Force Base. Let's just say people in Taiwan weren't too happy when they saw this video.
The drill is very bad. No matter how many times they try to justify themselves, I think it has hurt the feelings of the Taiwanese people.
But it would be totally unfair to accuse the Communist Party of intentionally hurting the Taiwanese people's feelings, because really, it's just politics. Like America, Taiwan is also in the run-up to a 2016 presidential election. It has two main political parties, the KMT, the incumbent party since 2008, which has moved to develop closer ties with mainland China, and the DPP, which leans towards Taiwan independence. And the DPP is ahead in the polls, which means Taiwan is likely to elect a less Beijing-friendly government in 2016. Of course, China's recent military drills have angered both political parties. But the drills are really meant to serve as a warning. The Communist Party official in charge of Taiwan affairs put it best during a speech on August 6th. Will cross-Taiwan Strait relations continue to advance on the road of peaceful development, he asked, or will it turn back, turning its back on history and returning to the evil ways of Taiwan independence? What I think he means is that there's nothing wrong with Taiwan having its own currency, government, passports, or military, but if Taiwan ever claims that those things make it a country instead of just a regular Chinese province, well, then that makes it evil.
You are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor.
So if Taiwan chooses to be, evil, will Communist China actually send in the troops like it's threatened to do for decades? Yeah, no. Because here's what would probably happen. The US would get involved to defend Taiwan. There'd be strong words said and then, an actual war between two nations that have nuclear weapons. And even without using nukes, a ground war would reduce most of Taiwan's cities to rubble, meaning there wouldn't be much left to take over. So this is not going to happen. But don't worry, China has another invasion plan. It's what they call peaceful reunification, or what most people call subversion, creating closer and closer economic ties, making Taiwan more and more dependent on the money coming from China until eventually Taiwan couldn't break away even if it wanted to. And then, ta-da! One unified China. So if that's the case, why would China release video of its army planning a Taiwan invasion? They just want to keep Taiwan in line to convince voters not to support a pro-independence platform, because it would make subversion harder. Besides, if Taiwan were to officially declare independence, it would seriously hurt the feelings of the Chinese people. These Chinese people. So what do you think? Leave your comments below and check out our Facebook page for more content from China Uncensored. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time. Yesterday, China celebrated the 70-year anniversary of its victory in the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression. Oh? What's that? You say you've never heard of it? Well, you Westerners might know it by its less common name, World War II. Clearly, China is top of mind for America's leading presidential candidates, and one candidate in particular has talked about China so much that the Huffington Post made a 3-minute video of this.
China, China, China. I have to have my China. China, 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 China. China!